Vitaliy here tries to make 50 to 70% in profit margins building custom homes, and today you're about to find out how. We're going to visit some of Vitaliy's projects and pick his brain on hiring contractors, managing customers, and his very unique profit-sharing strategy, and a lot more. All right, so we're standing in front of one of the custom builds that you did for your customer. Let's start with your background and how you got into custom home building.
Yeah, for me, it started out 15 years ago. I was 18 years old. Just went out to work for just to do something. I wasn't planning on doing construction, wasn't planning on growing a business, didn't know what I was doing. I had a little bit of background in construction, but it was just helping out a buddy. And slowly grew, I got a license, got more work, and kept growing every year. And so this is the last 3 years where it's been custom homes for customers.
Awesome. For somebody watching that just wants to get into this industry, doesn't have much experience, what would you tell them about getting started to learn the skills and the things needed to know?
Yeah, simple. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, whether you got experience or no experience at all. Just do it. Go out there, and you don't have to have a fancy truck, thousands of dollars worth of tools. You just need to do it. In Washington, where we're at, it's a lot easier to get licensed. And so some states, you got to jump through some hoops. You got to take some classes. And that's good and bad. It's harder to get started, but it prepares you better. And there's money to be made.
Just get going. Okay. Tell us a little bit about how you got started with your first build. Where did you get the money? Because a lot of our viewers are probably just starting out and they want to hear from you.
Yeah, for me, it was a long journey. I tried to cash flow most of it. I was never able to fully cash flow the whole build. I think this was the first one that went smoother. Before, a lot of it was just small. My first house was $100,000 and it was a rehab. I flipped that one.
Did you buy that cash though? That's
no,
about money.
That one was just regular. That was the only time in my life where I just had regular conventional financing.
Okay, so you did use the bank once.
Yes, so that was the only time. It was my first house, my personal house. I lived in it, remodeled it, sold it. Rolled that money into another house. Rolled that money into another house. And so my goal was to have a paid for house. And at 28, I paid cash for a crappy house. Ended up putting way more money into it, and it was a long journey. So that definitely took advantage of the 2-year no capital gains, rolled that into another house, rolled that into another house, and started building.
All right, so let's check out the deck. What a beautiful deck, massive. How many decks this house has?
So 2 levels. This is the bigger of the 2. This is all cantilevered, not a single post. And so
I mean,
we were able to do that with the steel beams, and it turned out really good.
It looks amazing, Vitaliy.
Yeah.
Why don't we ask you about your budget when you got started? What was your initial budget? How long did it take you to break even?
Okay, well, I started off at 18, real small, and so
with what, 10 grand?
No. So my first, I still remember going out to Home Depot with my wife and spending $80 on tools. And that week, I probably made $1,000 with those tools. And I was out working, driving around in a Ford Focus. And yes, with my kind of business, you do have to keep reinvesting. And so I've invested a lot into it. You know, there's more, always another tool, always another machine, always something more to buy.
I'm looking at this house, the facade of it, and I want to mention something because you do this a lot for most of your builds, this wooden sort of texture to it. Can you share a little bit about that, the uniqueness of it and why?
Yeah. So this one in particular, we transition more into the contemporary modern with a lot of wood, a lot of black, the black windows. It's unique, and we wanted to get that real high-end look that's been around for a while, but for the ultra rich. And so we tried to bring that here and make it happen, and it worked out very well. And this particular siding that you see almost transitioned into a whole separate business for me. I stumbled upon it. And
why don't we leave that, not to interrupt, but why don't we leave that for you guys as a hack later in this video, because it's really a game changer. So keep watching to find out more about that and more. What's the most challenging thing right now for you as a business owner? Is it a consistent challenge, or is it something that's come up maybe in the last year or two? What can you share on that?
The one thing that's been really challenging last year or last 2 is COVID and all the supply, and I've had to change suppliers for a lot of my stuff. We are waiting a lot more to get things that used to be easier to get. And there's just the cost of material. There's always changing. You can't really even budget a build.
Are you doing anything specific to adjust to these challenges? What can you share with our audience? Maybe a tip or trick?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I've done is I buy a lot of material
Like in
that
bulk?
I don't, in bulk. I buy it ahead of time so that I don't have that issue. This can't come to a stop. It has to continue to go.
Okay.
And that's a big challenge right now.
Okay, awesome. You guys, make sure, we'd love to hear from you as well. Through the last year or two, how are you overcoming these challenges? Please comment below. We read them, we respond to them, and it's a great value to all our viewers as well. And most importantly, check out our podcast, upflip.com/podcast, where you can hear about two brothers making $160K a month remodeling homes. Check it out, our podcast. Thank you. Okay, Vitaliy, we are at one of your many projects at this point. Give us a quick summary of what is special about this house, because this thing is enormous.
I got a few going on. This is one that is a little unique in the fact that we took a very, very tiny lot. This lot is only 200 square foot bigger than the house itself. And because of the topography, we actually have 4 full floors. So this is by far the tallest house that I've built and probably the tallest one around here. Some unique features we're trying to emphasize open and views and big windows. And
we're standing on a sky bridge too?
The sky bridge. I've wanted to do this for a few years.
That's crazy.
We were able to do something like this on this house, and so far we're happy with it.
So the garage is down
Garage
below.
is down there, and then there's another floor below it.
That's cool. And you've got these tremendous metal beams. I don't see that very often on residential construction.
I like the metal beams. There's a few metal beams on my homes. This one has a couple, and it's a cost savings. Aesthetically, it looks really cool.
It does.
Structurally, you can do a lot with metal.
What is your advice for keeping costs low and maximizing profits as a home builder? Just a couple things.
Good planning. You don't have to know everything about it, but don't do things without thinking about it. Budgets, sourcing, labor, you don't just get to where you need plumbing done and you start calling plumbers. Start calling plumbers, before you finish framing. We had our sheetrock guy in here yesterday measuring, and we're, not even ready. Getting the right price is big, but it's always also timing. If, say, you are working with a bank and you have monthly payments and you're ready for sheetrockers, but then you're waiting 2 months, which nowadays is normal. And so that was going to hurt you. We have a house that we pulled the plug on because we had framers, we had the material, but we couldn't get trusses for 4 months.
Wow.
And so we had to shift gears to another house because we could not start it and just let it sit. And so that's what I mean by planning. And a lot of it is really just material and then labor. That is one reason I do things a little differently. I try to take that out of the equation. And I have a lot of guys that are in-house or full-time or I've worked with for many, many years. And I do a different kind of arrangement with some of my guys, especially leads. I have almost as much leads as I do just regular helpers, which is unique. Usually have one managing 4 or 5 guys. I got 3 leads and 4 helpers.
Quick question on how many full-time people you have on payroll, and then anything else you want to elaborate or add on with reference to these unique partnerships and working together with other professionals.
We got about 8 full-time team members right now.
8, okay.
But they vary, and those are guys that are on site or involved with day-to-day full-time. And some of them are just skilled laborers. And then we have somebody that's boots on the ground, but also behind the scenes, whether they're helping fund. The goal is to go towards the profit split, up to 50-50. I'm okay with doing a partnership where we have that. And that's something that I'm slowly figuring out because it gives them an incentive. They get to essentially earn equity in a project and then slowly take over some of what I'm doing. And by helping me with that, they get ownership of the company.
Are we talking guys just like do framing, or they get ownership of the deal as well?
So these are skilled guys. Most of them are skilled, high skill, excavation, framing, foundation, stuff that's hard to find, expensive skill with experience. And I try to structure in a way where they come, we partner together, they do something that I can't or don't want to do. and then I do something that they can't or don't want to do, and we'll make something happen.
All right, so we're here at another project by VP. Vitaliy, tell us a little bit about this project, what's unique about it, and what your goal for it is.
Yeah, so this is unique in a couple different ways. Very difficult to develop, and a couple cool features. The wood that you see is from a cedar tree that was milled and cut from this lot.
That's pretty cool.
And I have quite a bit of wood that I'm trying to bring into this house. I also put a lot of that wood in that house, which is a remodel.
It's his other house that he did years ago, right?
I used to live there. Now this was gonna be my home. And so, the driveway, I experimented, and this is my first attempt at this kind of driveway.
Whatever you could share with us in terms of kind of your revenue goals, maybe on one build, just revenue. We're not talking about profit margins just yet.
With the market today, and it keeps changing, I wanna say we're somewhere between 700-800 at the low end to this house, and another one a little over $1 million, maybe 1.2. Again, that's just depending on the market and the day, and it's all over the map right now. The profit margins are different between house to house, and it varies quite a bit. Haley's house that we did, that was a lot of involvement, and that has been my least profitable house. So
things changed.
It changed a lot. So I probably could have sold that particular house for $200,000 more. And so those are kind of the things with our market, our location, and these kind of homes. Their custom is unique, and there's a reason why a lot of people don't do it. There's more risk involved. You can dump a lot of money into a high end that then goes down in value. And a lot of it is tied to land, and I've been fortunate enough to buy land early on.
Let's talk about financing builds. We know that you have a very creative way of financing all kinds of builds in all kinds of ways. For someone watching who's struggling to maybe put something together, the bank says no. Let's talk about that. I think it's a very important topic. Where do you find your money? How do you partner up? What can you share with us? I know there's some insider secrets, but whatever you can share would be valuable.
Definitely. So I do things very different. I've never had much luck with the traditional go to your bank route. I start off way early on, followed Dave Ramsey, and so a lot of it was I try to do cash. I try to finance. I realized early on that I would not be able to scale in the market that we have, it's going to take me forever. And so I did pivot and go to non-traditional creative financing, whether it be, have partners come in, whether it's borrowing, money from family and friends. I don't recommend that if you're trying to scale. Private money is an option. Don't recommend that either.
Pricey.
But yeah, there's different ways of doing it. And it all depends on, and so that's one thing that's helped me in the last year, but it's also a major thing that held me back, going back 2 years ago. And I could have scaled and I could have done more things. I didn't want to go into creative financing. So I think there is an option to do that. You just got to be wise about it.
Let's talk profit margins. And remember in the beginning, you guys, we mentioned that Vitaliy tries for 50 to 70% profit margins on a build. Can you elaborate on that as much as you're comfortable telling us what that means and how you accomplish that?
Yeah, so basically for me, before I start anything, if I'm funding it, I want to be, 50 to 70%, but those are on projects that I'm funding. When we're talking a custom where a homeowner has land and they're funding it, it's obviously different.
It's probably lower, right?
Yeah, so this is where I want to be for projects that I got a lot of my money invested. You would need 300, 400 to build a house. Now it can easily be 500, 600 to build the same house. And so I want to be 50 to 70 if I'm involved. One of the big things that works out for me is I do a lot of stuff in-house, and I'm involved in a lot of the things that are expensive, the things that would really hurt your budget. I try to really sharpen my pencil on those things and try to do it in-house. Some of the big ticket items, windows, foundations in my area, excavation, and then when you go into roofing. those can be very expensive, and those are the things I focus to try to do in-house to get my numbers low.
And that's how the profit margins
That does help sell the
pretty cool.
house for more, and that helps put a little more money in your pocket.
So Vitaliy, you've done a couple pre-sales, and question for the audience is, at what time is it a good idea to do a pre-sale? When is it not? I know it's market conditions. What else have you learned?
So pre-sales are an interesting thing. I usually don't recommend them.
At all?
At all, unless you have to or unless you just feel comfortable with it. I've done two very successfully. I've spent a lot of time talking and vetting. I've turned down a lot. Obviously, the benefits are you get somebody to come in and hopefully you get some money up front. And so that helps. But I would strongly recommend to people that don't know how this works, and if they're building their first home, to not do it, because you're dealing with people. And if something goes wrong, you know, there's just so much things there. I mean, legal expenses that I've had a couple of builder friends got into it last year, and I know other builders that had to buy their way out of their contract. And especially with the market shifting so much, unless you know what you're doing, you probably shouldn't.
In terms of equipment, I know there's a ton of tools that you need to run a successful home construction business. What do you want to highlight in terms of tools, maybe for somebody who's getting started? And what do you typically spend a month on tools, if anything?
Yeah, so tools are going to be a very big part of construction and running a business. The more, the better.
Okay.
That's the easy answer. And so on a monthly basis, I'm going to say at least $1,000 to $2,000 on low stuff.
Right.
And then you have your, $10,000 trailer. You got your $15,000 here and there every few months.
Okay.
And that's part of what I'm trying to really plan ahead and do. And it's necessary for what I do with these kind of builds.
Aside from practical skills, what other skills or experiences have been most beneficial to you as you've continued to grow your business?
For me, the number one is people skills. It's just being able to communicate, because business is easy until people get involved. And I stole that quote from somebody else. Okay. But that's been the number one. When I used to do a lot of customer work, where I'd have 200 customers total at one point in my business. And remembering all these things, communicating and serving each one in the way that they want to be served,
right,
that's going to make or break your business. And so I figured out that there's a way to really be profitable and grow your business with that being 50% of your business. Doing the work, yes, you got to be able to do the work.
Right. Sounds like basic stuff, but most important.
Very basic, and just be real. Treat them like you'd want to be treated, and show up and work, and you'll be all right.
As far as like key individuals to be successful in this business, who would they be?
As far as home building,
right,
you definitely need a good relationship with, an architect, an engineer. In my case, I got, stormwater, I got geo. There's a couple more that I got to deal with. I'm in the watershed, so I can only do a certain amount of work certain times of the year.
Who else on the team though? Like an attorney? You mentioned that.
Yeah, definitely. Again, with growth, you want really good tax advice. I just spent an hour and a half with my tax guy yesterday, and that is a very big part of what I do when you have multiple properties. You want to take advantage of some of the tax laws, but then plan ahead for some of the ones that may hurt you. An attorney. That legal advice is great. How to structure business. Is it a corporation, LLC, or you just run it, as a sole prop? There are all these things, and getting good professional advice. And I highly recommend paying somebody. And yeah, it can seem expensive, $200-300 an hour. Worth every penny. It'll save you way more in the long run.
Let's talk about finding reliable workers. Where do you find them? What do you look for? What have you learned in the past 15 years about that?
Can be a challenge, and
especially now,
can be very difficult. When you're hiring employees, the first one's going to be the most difficult. The 10th one is easy. I don't have a lot of employees. I try to put everybody into some sort of a profit sharing partnership, incentivize them some so that I don't have to motivate them to show up every morning.
Do you offer any incentives, bonuses?
Yes. So my first conversation is very simple. I'll go over some of their values, and then I do offer them that they have the ability to earn as much as they want, and they have the ability to own part of the house. It really is up to them. And so I do have guys that come in and their goal is to own up to 50% of a build. The one we were at with the Skybridge, I'm partnered with a guy. In the end, we are going towards 50-50 profit split. I don't look at him as an employee. He's a partner, a team member. Even though I'm funding it and I'm running it and it was my idea, he gets to be part owner.
All right, we're here yet at another project by Vitaliy. Give us a quick summary about this project and what you intend to do here.
Yeah, so this is unique. It's one of my bigger projects.
Massive house.
It started out as a 3,500 square foot, turned it into a 5,000 plus. And it's unique. It's taken me a while. This is actually something I took over from another builder. He poured a foundation and then I took it from there.
Sounds good. It seems like they've used the entire concrete in town to pour the foundation plus everything else. This is massive. We'll give you guys an inside look. Incredible house, lots of cool features. I know you mentioned your clients were very involved in it, but can you point us to some of the unique features of the house and anything else that you want to add and share?
Yeah, so this house was very unique and the clients were very involved. A lot of this is their design. So the big one on this one is got to be the windows.
Ton of windows.
So yeah, this particular house, for what it is, a lot of windows. This was an engineering difficulty. Even after we had it engineered, it moved a lot, so we had to come in and do a lot of steel.
Wow.
The other thing about this house with the decks and this beam, we actually have a massive 54-inch steel beam going through the whole house.
Right, this whole thing.
And they couldn't even deliver it here. And so that was a challenge, but it turned out really nice, and both structurally it looks good. Everything in this house is smart. All the outlets, all the light switches, fireplace. There's enough Cat 6 or Ethernet wires in this house to do 10 homes.
Wow.
And that there's just a lot inside of the walls that you don't see initially, but it makes this home really nice.
Beautiful. You got the really unique railings here.
Yes.
Is this pretty common, or is this?
So for builder spec homes, no. For a lot of the nicer homes today, yes. I try to do steel cables. In most of my homes, I like it. We have a lot of it outside, inside, and I think it adds to the overall look of the house.
Yeah. Vitaliy, so I noticed this cedar on almost all of your houses. And you mentioned earlier in the beginning that it sort of became another business. And this is sort of a hack for you guys and what really helps you stand out and be unique. Can you give us the story about that, where you get the wood, at what cost, and what does that do as a game changer?
I bought material, but it became harder and harder to get. And so what I ended up doing is buying a lot of pine, because throughout my homes, inside, outside,
Right.
I have enough pine, for 10 homes. I mean, inside the other home, all the ceiling. So there's a lot of it. And so I literally buy by the truckload. And because I have so much, I'm able to get it, A, and I'm able to get it at a better cost, B, and then I'm able to even make some money selling it. And so what I've actually done, I don't get into that. I have some of my guys and my kids, I teach them about investing. And then so they put their money into it, they sell it and they make some money and they learn the little bit of business, and it could be a business of its own, because it's last year I probably made somewhere between 15 and 25,000 just reselling it, and it takes a couple hours a week, maybe.
Let's talk about how you manage, if at all, leads of potential customers that want to build maybe a year out. Do you keep track on an Excel spreadsheet, or is that even a thing for you?
So I'm constantly talking to people, and I got everything planned out for next year, 2 years. Mm-hmm. We're sitting on 4 permits for next year, and then potential projects for after. As far as customers goes, I limit it to about 3 to 4 a year at this point, and we actually had to turn some away, just because I don't want to have too much on my plate.
Do you use like a software that you can share with the audience how you keep track of all this stuff, or do you just keep it in your head?
Yeah, no, super high tech, email. That's about it.
That's it?
There's nothing else.
No spreadsheets of client A through Z?
Okay, so I got one guy that helps me a lot with it. He does my CAD, he does a lot of my scheduling, and so he's the one that He's got software. He obviously Excel, a lot of Microsoft's products. I don't really enjoy that part of it, so I'm not really involved. I do the
Delegate
communication, and he's my Office CAD design, and so he does a lot of that.
Is he on your payroll?
So it's a unique relationship where it's a little bit of both. He does work boots on the ground, and then part time. It's a partnership, profit split, or some kind of commission, and that way I don't have to push him to do something. I don't have to motivate him. He gets paid after or when it's done, and it's done well.
Are there any hidden or unexpected expenses for a homeowner, a home builder, that maybe a lot of home builders forget to plan for? Like, what would that be?
Definitely, always. There's known unknowns and there's unknown unknowns. You always want to have that little bit of extra money, or you want to have a plan, because there's always going to be something. Change in price for material, the supply is a big thing. Labor's big, and if you're relying on outside help, subcontractors, I've had multiple subcontractors just not show up because somebody offered them a little more, or because of scheduling. A lot of your subs, and so having good subs, good people involved, good systems, that's huge. And every project I've had, there's always something.
Is it a percentage that you account for? Is it 10% kind of cushion, 20%? What's been your practice or standard?
So
on
typically
average?
10% is good. For me, it varies. Sometimes I'll make some decisions that end up costing $100,000 more.
Wow.
And usually they're not, overnight. You kind of plan as you're building.
All right, real quick. I know we've touched on like customer experience, but what else can you add on to an exceptional customer experience? What is that like for you?
Well, first of all, that's the goal, and that's what I try to go for every time. And it's, again,
What does it come down to?
Just communication.
That's it.
Trying to find a way to best communicate with that particular customer, and that's it. And it's really that simple. There's not a whole lot. You don't have to impress them. No magic tricks. Just have a conversation.
Never hurts to over-communicate?
Sometimes it hurts. Some people don't need that. And that's why first conversation, you're trying to gauge, you're trying to read the person. Do they want to have a 40-minute conversation about their dog? Or, do they just want to get straight to business? It varies. I've had customer experience where I've talked for hours about something that has nothing to do with this, and then they call me up, they're like, I want you to do it. And they don't know nothing, or they don't know a lot about what I want to do, my plans. They trust me. Here's the keys, here's our budget. We're going to Arizona, you got 6 months. So I've had that one customer that turned out to be a good friend. And it really just started by us talking about something that had nothing to do with her home and her project.
Man, you guys are like big kids playing in a big playground that you really enjoy. So I can see that you love doing what you're doing.
I enjoy a lot of parts of it. There's definitely things that I don't like.
Which are what? You can be transparent and honest here with us.
It's definitely time consuming.
Okay.
I am using this as a tool to carve out a good family life. I got more kids than the average person.
How many kids, by the way, for the record?
So I got 7 kids.
And how old are you?
30, 35.
Started early,
And
okay.
so I got a teenager at home.
That's awesome.
And then I got a 1-year-old. And then also very important to me is to spend a lot of time with my wife. That's key, because otherwise this would take over and I would lose all that. And so that's the part that I don't enjoy as much, and I'm pivoting my business, how I do things, so that I'm not boots on the ground involved in every aspect. That's gonna take a minute.
Right.
And so I enjoy a lot of it, and the end result, and some of the day-to-day boots on the ground I'm stepping out of, and that's more because of my personal life and my personal values and what I wanna do.
Blitz Time with Vitaliy. Let's do it. This is from Garrett Stevenson. Thank you for your question. How do you feel about 3D printed houses? How do you feel about the new building materials? And how will it affect people using lumber? 2 cents on
Anything
that.
I've seen, not a big fan of, don't know too much about it, just don't like what it looks like. I think it'll be a while before the technology is there to compete with what we have here.
Okay, awesome. Anita, thank you for your question. What's the most eccentric customer request you had from a client that you've managed to achieve? eccentric, something wild, something that's like, wow.
I had a customer that we did cruise ship, purple and gold carpet that was insanely expensive.
Oh, wow.
Gloss gold, popcorn ceiling. She dumped a lot of money into it. It was the most ugly thing I've ever done, but she was super happy, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. This is from Stuart. Thanks for your question, Stuart. How do you recognize and grow talent to be future site leaders, supervisors, etc.?
Motivated. They're hungry. And also, our values align. That's more important to me. Anybody can learn the ins and outs, but you can't really teach somebody to be honest, or at least I don't want to be. So I want to have somebody that's motivated and somebody that's got values that align with mine.
Okay. This is from Adrian Walker. Adrian, thanks for the question. How did you work your way up to where you are? Biggest obstacle climbing up?
Not quitting. There's a lot of times where it was hard, and a lot of times you want to quit. And a lot of times you see somebody else and you think they made it, and you want to give up. And then you just muscle through it.
Martin, thanks for this question. What's your biggest monthly expense, and how much of a deposit do you ask for up front when the client's
so material is going to be the biggest when you're building. Land is by far the biggest before you even start. When I do a pre-sale or with a customer, I usually bill monthly, or if it was someone like Haley, then she ended up putting a 10% non-refundable deposit, which is quite large for somebody doing what I do, and that's one of the reasons it worked out.
Okay, yeah, probably client by client. Last question from Whiskey Sour. Thanks for your question. How can you afford lumber these days?
You don't buy your kids food or clothes. No, you just you budget for it. It's tough, and you make it work, and you don't quit, and that's just another obstacle. There's many more, and there'll always be some.
In terms of codes, in this industry, you've got code changes monthly, weekly, yearly. As a home builder, how do you stay on top of those? Where do you go for those resources? Or is it just kind of on the fly via inspectors, whatever?
No, so definitely not on the fly. That's the difference between somebody who's been doing it long enough and where somebody who just wants to. Yeah, there's a lot of changes, a lot of different codes. Last year was a big one with the energy code. And we're talking 20, 30 on a house like this, $50,000, $60,000 difference just 1 month
to meet that code.
And so for me and a lot of the builders that have been around, we knew it, months in advance, 6 months in advance. And so I was able to work with engineers and plans and people at Whatcom County to secure permits. And that's why I have permits from last year that I'm going to start breaking ground on this year.
That don't have to meet the new codes?
Nope, they don't.
Tricky, no?
So it's not tricky, it's what everybody does. I just knew about it, and it was an investment that I had to make a year ago for something that I could have done potentially in the next couple of years.
That's a good
And so that's one of those things where, your regular home builder, DIYer would not be able to do.
What is the best way to build relationships or connections with other professionals in the construction business as a home builder?
Yeah, if you're talking about professionals that are in the office, engineers, architects, you just start by talking, you align with what projects you guys work on, and you start from there. As far as other builders, that's one thing that's helped me. There's a lot of builders out here, and I know most of them personally, and it's just a matter of having a conversation, whether it's grab lunch or just stop by and talk to them and,
But they're your competitors. Do you see them as competitors?
I don't know, so absolutely not. I don't. We help each other a lot. There's a guy that's building down the road for me, and sometimes we'll partner on, some machinery. This summer, when it was very difficult to get equipment, I had 4 excavators throughout my job sites, so I was able to either rent out or let them borrow some of my equipment. And sometimes it works the other way, where there's a bigger builder right next to me that will let me use,
Wow, that's
and so
good.
that is an advantage. I don't look at it as a competition. There's enough money to be made building homes. If we help each other, we both are successful.
That's an awesome way to look at it. Do you have a brand awareness strategy? What's working, or what can you share on that?
No, nothing. I've never paid a single dollar for any kind of advertising. Don't have a website at the moment. I'm working on one. The hoodie that you see or any kind of advertisement, it's my son started a little side business. My 12-year-old started a side business printing stuff. It started out as jerseys for a soccer team. And so
cool.
he made me a couple of hoodies, made my guys some hoodies, some hats. We're still getting into that. But before, a month ago, I had nothing. Never had a sign on my car, never had any kind of advertising. Everything was word of mouth, which I don't necessarily recommend if you want to grow and scale.
Right.
I went about it the other way, and it works for me. And I actually am different in the fact that I turn away good paying jobs. We said no to a couple this year because I'm not ready to scale until I know I'm not going to sacrifice quality.
I see.
And that communication with the customer just goes down if you have a lot of projects. And so I'm moving in that direction, just not there yet.
Okay. Vitaliy, if you had an opportunity to sell your business, quote unquote, what do you think you would sell it for? Do you have an exit strategy to eventually leave all this and do something else?
Great question. So today, book value is about it. Some real estate, truck, tools, not a whole lot more, but that's a good question that got me thinking a few months ago to have an exit strategy. So I am planning on relocating. And so the idea is, and why I'm pivoting my business with a lot of the guys that are involved, is either to get it to a place where I can sell it, because the numbers on the books are good. I'm obviously doing stuff, and I've been around for a while, but that's not really valuable to somebody coming from the outside yet. And so the plan is to sell it to somebody, maybe somebody in-house, somebody that can take over that knows the ins and out, or run it from in another location. For me, I'm thinking of Florida. It might be something else where I don't have to be involved in every day, boots on the ground. Right. And so that's the step that I'm taking next, and I'm making a lot of changes.
And I love this question because it gives us an opportunity to learn, but give us an example of an unhappy customer with a build. I'm sure it's happened. How did you resolve that situation, and what did you learn from it in terms of maybe avoiding it next time?
So I've definitely have my share of small issues. Fortunately, I was able to resolve every single one.
Nice.
And so we've had issues, and a lot of times it's just talking about it and coming to a good, reasonable solution. The worst I've ever had, they had an attorney, I had an attorney, and there were some possible litigations. Fortunately, we avoided all of that. There was a little bit of a settlement, if you want to call it that.
What happened though? Like, where did it start?
There was just an issue with the house. It surprised us after, weather and things started shifting. And I'm not gonna ever say that I build perfect homes. I make mistakes, other builders make mistakes. The one difference between me and others is if I made a mistake, I'll own it. But I always tell them, if you guys have any issues, please come talk to me.
That's pretty cool.
And so that has, had there's some difficulties with that one house. It worked out really good. We were able to resolve it. We're on talking terms. I walked away, everything's great. And I think that's just part of doing business. You're gonna have issues. It's how you deal with them.
How far are you busy into the next couple of years?
Yeah, so right now we got projects on our schedule going out at least a year and a half. So my year when I break ground starts summertime. And so everything's booked up for this upcoming summer. And so we're gonna have 4 new projects, and I wanna not take on any more. But then I already got stuff in the works for 23.
Nice. Because it just takes time, right, with permitting and engineering,
Yeah,
getting
so
everything
it
approved.
takes a minute to get all that stuff, and I like to have permits in my hand months, before I actually break ground.
Okay.
And so that's how I like to do it. It doesn't always work out, but that's the plan.
What would you give your younger self as far as advice, if you could do that, before starting the business? What would it be? A couple words.
For me personally, I'm big on, your business not taking over your family, your life, your whatever else you got. I grew a family, while I grew a business. And unfortunately, sometimes the business takes over good time that you can spend with family. And so and this is what I've been told, and I tell all the younger guys, you know, if they're starting out, if they're married, if they got kids, don't spend 80 hours at work unless you have to. The problem is most guys don't. You can make enough money to survive, but you always have that desire, especially as a business owner, entrepreneur, you want more. You know, you sell a house, you make money, you instantly want more.
Right.
And so it's fighting that urge and slow down and enjoy life and invest into your relationships. For me, my wife first, kids, and you know, other relationships past that. So maybe not so much a business answer, but for me, it's big, and that's where I'm making a lot of changes to do that.
I want to ask you about a mistake you made when you first started out. Can you think of one, share with our audience, and what you learned from it?
Yeah, starting out, the
Specific.
main mistake that I think a lot of people make is over promise, under deliver. You know, you stretch yourself thin, you commit to a lot of projects without understanding how long it'll take. And so, I mean, I got a lot of stories where, you know, I'm driving around literally on a day visiting 6, 7 different job sites. This was when I was doing remodels and work for customers in their home.
I see.
And so I see that across the board. Everybody makes that mistake. You just
Taking on too much, basically?
Yeah, you take on too much without understanding what it's like. I think if you're in the handyman business or maintenance, you know, some kind of software, some kind of other help to manage all that is a must. That is one reason where, although my business was growing, doing that and it was profitable, my goal was to get out of that for that reason, so that I'm not dealing with 10 customers in 1 week. Instead, I have 4 in 1 year. That works for me. Took me a minute to get out of that, but that was by far the biggest mistake that I've made, and that I see a lot of other contractors make.
Tell us a little bit about this house and its unique aspects. Just give us a quick list, and what's really the most unique thing?
This house got a lot of cool features. I spent some time thinking about it. You know, there's going to be a lot of steel. All this is floating. You don't see any beams, decks, because this is temporary. So, you know, that door is going to be a custom electromagnetic pivot door. We're waiting on that, and so it's, you know, you don't see that every day.
I have no idea what that means.
It just means there's no handle and there's no actual mechanism. It's all electromagnetic, kind of like what you would see in a hotel when you put in your key card and you hear that click. The floors, I have a penny floor I try to have it in all my homes.
A penny floor. So give us a description of what that means, because people think it's just like a one big mat that looks like a penny.
Nope, it's every single penny glued one at a time, and I cover it with epoxy, and it takes forever, and I hate myself every time I do it, but it's a thing I did on my first home, and it's a thing I'm doing, so that's just more aesthetic.
VP signature type of deal?
It's just something, I like it, and so I do it, and it's not something a lot of people do, and I love it, and it's something I want to implement in my other homes.
In terms of, you know, any average person is going to look at this lawn and be like, man, this lawn's a mess. It's steep, it's tiny. He sees no value, but yet you're managing to build what, a close to $800,000, $900,000 house, probably north of that. So the tips that you can share with our viewers, like you see something, don't necessarily write it off and think it's bad or not profitable. So how do you have the eyes for that? Obviously, besides experience and years.
So I have experience in these kind of lots in this area.
Right.
All my builds.
He's an expert here in
all
Southern
my
Valley.
builds are within a mile of each other. I got into it because I couldn't afford anywhere else. My first lot was worse than this, and I ended up trading it for a boat I had. And so once I had it, I was like, I'm gonna make it work. And I did, and I learned a couple of things. I got involved. I know all the people. This is a pretty large HOA. It's run a certain way, and I was able to make it work.
That's awesome.
And it's by far more difficult than going, 10 minutes, 20 minutes into town. I enjoyed. I've lived out here for 12 years. I enjoy the area. I like doing this. I like drawing up this particular house. We ended up drawing with my partner with pencil, on a big sheet of paper and tweaking it. And
that's cool.
And it turned out, we're happy with it.
Last but not least, to wrap up this interview, we love wrapping up our interviews by asking, what is your favorite business book? Can you think of one that you've read in the past? that you can share with our audience?
I can't choose one. If I had to choose one, it would definitely be Proverbs. I'm reading with my kids. I read it 100 times. I think it's great. As far as other business books, I pick and choose from a bunch of different ones. And, you know, maybe that's not the answer you're looking for, but, you know, Dave Ramsey, you know, Robert Kiyosaki,
Just money
Dale
skills.
Carnegie, you know, well, money and people. They both talk about people and relationships. Who moved my cheese? That's a good one. E-Myth. You know, there's a lot of really good information, and I don't like just one over the other. I really just do pick and choose, and that's worked for me.
That's awesome. Well, we've all enjoyed it. I know our audience enjoyed hearing your story. I appreciate that, Vitaliy.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.